We are really, really happy to have you at our first inaugural Fall Forum dinner. I'm Phil Fernberg. I'm the chair of the board of directors and executive officer for Latter-day Saint Earth Stewardship, or as we affectionately like to call it, LDSES. There are so many of us that have probably interacted with LDSES before. They're in this room. There might be a few that haven't. There may be people that are just dragged here from friends and family. But I think that there's probably one thing that all of us can be connected through, which is everyone here probably sees the importance of strengthening the connection between faith in our Creator and in our Creator's creations, and in our connection to both of them and our responsibility for caring for creation. And for that, we are really grateful to have you all here. And we have some wonderful dinner from Maggleby's Fresh. We are really, really grateful to all of our sponsors who have helped make the dinner, including yourselves, who have come to support LDSES through what some might say is a little bit of an overpriced plate. Just know that the sentiment and the gesture is really, really felt, because each year it seems that we're getting this Fall Forum event to be bigger and better, and that bodes well for the future state of stewardship. I want to specifically thank the Orem Public Library for having us here, and Nathan, who has been our fearless leader here at the library, making it all happen. And then our specific donors, Dow and Lynn Wilson, are you here? Hello. Thank you so much for being named sponsors of this event. We really, really appreciate it. And we have sponsoring organizations as well that will be named during the Fall Forum event. We have Mormon Women for Ethical Government here. We have Grow the Flow. We have Conserve Utah Valley. We have BYU Sustainability. So many names to name, and we are overwhelmed with gratitude for that. I have made it a rule to not stand between people and their dinner for too long, so what we're going to do is get you to that. We're just going to do the old-fashioned clockwise way, so we'll start with this table, let you all go and do your thing, and then go from there. But before we do that, we are a faith-based organization, and we believe in the connection between our religious service and our environmental earth stewardship service, so we are going to start with a prayer. And that prayer is going to be given by Brooke Poligo. If you could come up here. Brooke is one of our most amazing LDSES stewards here, and she has just started at BYU studying environmental science.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the wonderful weather that you have given us today. Please bless this food and drink, that it will nourishment and strengthen our bodies to be able to serve this earth better. Please bless this earth, Father, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Brooke. Okay, yes, so we'll start here, and then we'll go there, and then there, outer ring, and then we'll end there. Okay, so you're not last. Second two, they'll be last. But not least, I may be a little biased because that's full of my family members, so, you know. Thanks. All right, I have been hearing some wonderful conversations, and it sounds like we're getting to know each other pretty well, too. So has anybody met somebody new they didn't know before tonight? Yes. Yes, mission accomplished. And we appreciate your patience with this. So this is the first time we're doing this, so there was a little shuffling. We had a lot. And I wanted to recognize some of the folks that made it happen. First and foremost, our operations coordinator, Chloe. Thank you so much, Chloe. She and Nathan have really put together something here. And so we're glad it's been successful and that we're all being fed and happy. While you're kind of finishing your meals, and we're on our road to get settled for a much more interesting speaker than me, I'll tell you a little bit about LDSES. So for those who don't know, what is this little organization? Who are we? So a ragtag group of academics and other folks who were really, really passionate about the subject get together, I don't know, some 12 odd years ago by this point, maybe a little more than that, and they start a Google group. And then that Google group over the years grows to a full-fledged 501c3 nonprofit, and now we have over a dozen global chapters. And it was from here, the Wasatch Front there, and I think there's quite a number of our founding board members here tonight. If you have been on the LDSES board before, can you raise your hand? Nice. So please give them a hand for the work that you've done. We stand on your shoulders because of what you've done to prepare us to get to where we're at now. We feel that the wind is at our sails for an immense amount of growth over the years. So first of all, what's our mission? We want to honor God by learning and living Latter-day Saint principles of creation care. Learning and living is the key for us. It starts with awareness and raising awareness of the connections that sometimes people have lost, especially in this part of the country, between the tenets of Earth stewardship that are core to our doctrines and the culture that we sometimes have within the church. And that has been really effective. It's become more, the mission has grown and grown over the years, and from just an awareness organization to now one that is living those principles in action. You have people who are going out, doing service, whether it's mangrove restoration in the Philippines to interfaith summits in Europe about the shared principles of Earth stewardship from the Baha'i and the Muslim and the LDS and the Christian faiths in Europe to our Earth stewardship east over the mid-Atlantic, restoring cultural landscapes with native plants. The list is very long, very, very long at this point. And that is, we're very proud of that because it's only, and we feel it's only the beginning because we're on our way to trying to get every Latter-day Saint to be a steward. And you can even put that beyond the Latter-day Saint tradition and say, if we believe in the core tenet that we all should put off the natural man and become saints in the sight of God, that means all of us can become saints, and perhaps even through stewardship itself. And we want people to be meaningfully engaged. And this has now evolved into what we feel are kind of our 4 pillars, our value statements. The first is action. We want to be an example. We want to be out there doing things that are helping make the world a better place. Education, it was the central core of our mission, and it continues to be a part of that today. That's through all sorts of programming, such as our Fall Forum, in the Company of Stewards, which has been going for a while now, which is a bi-monthly or a semi-monthly, whatever the word is, semi-monthly broadcast where we have subject matter experts come and talk about the connection between their expertise and their faith and have Q&A with our LDSES members and supporters to resources that we put online, such as our ward sustainability guide, which is essentially an action guide for anyone who wants to do something like put a calling that's focused around sustainability in their ward, to doing family home evening lessons, to how can we elevate the service within our ward that's connected to community service and Earth stewardship, and then building the foundation of community itself. This is largely driven by our local chapters. We have a dozen, and we hope to grow to many more than that over time. And these are when people have critical mass within a region, within a city, within a neighborhood, and they all have those shared interests in being engaged in events programming and being engaged in service projects, and any other activity they feel is forwarding the mission of LDSES. And then finally on wonder, which is where really I think the other 3 all come together. When you feel in that moment that you are a part of something that is much bigger than yourself. And you feel so small, but yet so full and so connected at the same time, we really look for those moments. And we look for the stories that people have, and we try to tell those stories. And the neat thing that we've come to with these pillars is that they have also kind of become our impact metrics. They're the things that we're really looking to be measuring over time, so that especially supporters like yourselves can know if you give to this organization, there's something you're getting out of it. You're seeing some progress on it. So we just did our strategic plan this year, and I wanted to share it with you. Tried to make it a little quippy, so we want 30 by 30 by 30 in all of 2030. And what we mean by that is all of these have to do with our different pillars. So we want, by 2030, we want our organization to be logging 30,000 service hours by that year. We want people to be interacting with our educational materials at least 30,000 unique times by that year. And this is on an annual basis, not between now and then cumulatively. We want 30 chapters to be operating, and not just surviving, but thriving worldwide. And we want every day of the week, no matter where you are in the world, that you might be able to interact with LDSES and find a story about the awe and wonder that is people being engaged in Earth stewardship. So whether that's people telling stories about us or us telling the stories of stewards and the impact that being engaged in this work has had in their lives. So we have a lot of things going on. This year alone, we've been able to put in, and we're trying to scale up to those things. So we put in 842 service hours amongst our 12 chapters, and with one of our bigger events of the year, which is happening next week, the International Coastal Cleanup Day, which all of our chapters will be engaged in some way, we're hoping to get even closer to perhaps meeting our goal of 2,000 by the end of this year. So we're trying to basically grow exponentially over 5 years, right? We've had a couple of thousand educational interactions, which is really wonderful. And we have been able to basically be on track for telling one of these stewardship stories every week. So if you're seeing us on social media, if you're seeing us on our website, if you're looking at our many media materials, you're probably seeing something. And then we have our 12 working chapters, and they've all been engaged in some amazing, amazing work.
That's our picture.
Hey, there you turn around. It's your mugshot. Yeah, you might see yourselves up here because you are part of this, and that's incredible.
We got a pallet. See the pallet right there?
So what was this?
So this was a cleanup in Southern California in Yorba Linda. It was wash, and we collected about just the four of us, 15 pounds of trash, and we're trying to start a chapter in Southern California.
One of our newest developing chapters in Southern California. Near and dear to my heart. I'm a son of Southern California, not too far down the way, Murrieta, Temecula area. Yeah. And one of the other things that we do and that we want to recognize is the impact of others outside of our organization. So one person I do want to point out tonight is Carolina Allen, who is right over there. Carolina, you'll hear a little bit more about her tonight in the Fall Forum, is the CEO Executive Director of Big Ocean Women, an amazing nonprofit that you'll hear a little bit more about. And then also, hopefully I get this name right, Mountain Vista Homestead, which is environmental education amongst many other things. And that, I think there's some fellow Big Ocean women at the table there with you, right? They're doing some incredible things, and we always try to recognize that every year. And so Carolina is our Steward of the Year this year, and you will see her at the Fall Forum being recognized for that. The other two esteemed guests that I want to point out before we get to the most important part of this dinner, our speaker, is first our incoming chair, Peter Ashcroft. Peter is a founding member of the organization, and he is also going to take on the chairship role as we are moving to a new board model, and we will be having an incoming, a current, and an outgoing chair so that we have more executive support throughout the years. And so Peter will be stepping into that role this time next year, and really happy to have him doing that. And he brings a lot of institutional memory with him to help bring the organization to where we want to go the next thing. And then I also want to acknowledge our Fall Forum speaker for tonight, Stephen Peck. Thank you for being here. And I wanted to point out Stephen and the Fall Forum event because the Fall Forum is really the culmination of what's happening during the year. It's sort of our, let's regroup, let's return and report and see what's happening in the world. And so the growth of it has been amazing over the past few years, and we're really happy to have people like yourselves helping to keynote in that event. So, without further ado, I would like to turn the time over to our most esteemed guest, Marcus Smith, who is the host I need your bio here, Marcus. He is the executive producer and host for the podcast Constant Wonder from BYU Radio. And a fundamental aim of the podcast is to help ground listeners in a sense of the sacred, to support a view of the indispensability of transcendent and transformative experiences of awe and wonder, one of our pillars, which can be seen as the wellspring of spiritual living. And for many, the sense of awe and wonder serve as square one, the very first stage in a life pilgrimage of faith. So, Marcus, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you. I'm starting my timer because I never shut up, and that'll beep on me. I see you as messengers, and I just heard a message about engaging people and targets for engagement. And I'm hoping I can offer you something that will help you to lead people who will want to engage, that as soon as they know what you're up to, what we are all up to, they will want to engage. It's not a matter of going on a fishing expedition. So that's kind of what I aim to do. I need you to bear in mind throughout my remarks 2 sentences. They're each 3-word sentences. Play along with me here. I'll just have, first of all, the sisters in the room say a sentence, and just you'll say it after me. And then just 3 words, and then I'll have the brothers say a sentence. Sisters, the first sentence, just repeat it. I am big. And brothers, your sentence. Everything is normal. Okay, those 2 sentences right there. I'm not going to give it away just yet, but those 2 sentences, they're falsehoods, as you'll see. And understanding those 2 sentences, or actually they're the converse of those sentences, is what puts me in a mode of feeling wonder and awe before the creation of our Maker. Let's start. Sacred wonder. A lot of people talk about awe and wonder. It's very popular these days. It's been commodified. You can go on wonder walks and wonder tours, and there's a lot of work in psychology that makes you think it's an emotion, and it's an emotion you want, and it's therapeutic, and that's all good stuff. I don't want to poo-poo too much of that, but I'm more interested in sacred wonder. What's the place of awe and wonder in a genuinely religious life? That's what I care about. The audience I have with the Constant Wonder podcast is a general audience, and so I don't get very overtly religious in what we present there, but it's the underpinnings of everything I do. A moment of awe in my life, the birth of my first child, and then 4 more after that. Breathtaking, a child taking its first breath. Breathtaking for me as a father. My father never got to witness childbirth. I got to witness the birth of all. And I was just thinking, what was the most powerful awe moments in my life? And certainly the birth, childbirth was one of them. There was somebody in the room who was not experiencing awe in childbirth. And if you want to take a guess at who that might have been, I'm going to say you're probably wrong. It was the medical care people. Their job was to proceed as though this were all in a day's work. They had to be on task and doing their job and doing it professionally, and I value that. But their task is to not be agape with awe and wonder. Their job is to be the medical professional, right? And I value that. Dieter F. Uchtdorf, in General Conference, did say a little story of his where he has trained pilots, and he feels sorry for the ones who, while they're doing their profession and doing it well, have become inured to seeing the stars when they're flying at night. And he says he's met many pilots for whom that is gone. It's just gone. So part of what we're trying to thread with this needle is how much of our lives are we going to normalize? How much of our lives is going to fill us with awe and wonder? So nothing, not a single thing. I had the sisters or the brothers, somebody said everything is normal. The answer is no, it's a falsehood. There is not one thing that you will ever encounter that is normal until you normalize it. So back in 1990, Voyager 1 finally makes it to the very edge of what's called the heliosphere. So it's where I think it's where the sun ceases to have a gravitational pull on things. So you're out of chance of getting sucked back in. And when this happened, I think it left in the early 70s. Carl Sagan prevailed upon NASA to turn the camera back and take a picture of Earth, and that's that little tiny dot there is a picture of Earth. And he called it in an essay, famous essay, the pale blue dot, 3.6 billion miles from the sun. This is the famous photo. And this, if you were in an IMAX theater, were to see it, you would go weak in the knees because you would think, really, that's where I am. Remember the first question, I am big? No. Falsehood. Everything's normal? No. I am big? No. I would like the practice of zooming in and zooming out in my mind with the natural world and everything I can see. And so at night, I'll see the stars of the heavens, or I like to see something very small. And we're going to go through a little rapid exercise here, visually here, if you would watch these images and just hang on for the ride. And you'll see an example of zooming out, zooming in. Actually, we're going to start way out, and then we're going to zoom in. Okay? Pillars of creation. They call it the pillars of creation. I kind of wanted to turn it look like it has mandibles and some kind of an insect coming down this way instead of the pillars of. Anyway, somebody named it that. It's one of those Hubble. And I think this is actually a James Webb follow-up photo of the pillars of creation. Coming down, we're going to do something. Do we have a picture? Now let's go with the Jupiter. This is the famed Earthrise photo from Apollo 8, 1968. Christmas Eve, was it? I don't know. One of these. Famous. This shot, one of the most famous photographs in history, probably because of the psychological impact of people suddenly kind of looking back at themselves, right? And feeling small, right? This is Denmark. 6 million people living right there. There's a little corner there you can see as part of the International Space Station. This is this valley. My home is over there where you got Little Rock Canyon, Slide Canyon, Slate Canyon, great places to hike. Once you get down onto the top of the mountains there, you might be in a place like this. This is close to the Pfeifferhorn. Took George Handley up there once, and we had a great time. And a few years back when I was, all svelte and all of that. Coming down closer to Earth, and this is the bell tower on the BYU campus. Oh, must go back to the chickens in my backyard. This is that boy right now of mine. He's 17 now. These were our chickens, and he helped us pluck. We're going closer to Earth. Salvia sclerea, also called clary sage. I grow this. The bumblebees love it in the springtime. This is a baby plant closer to the soil. This is, what do you think? Dragonfly wing. Okay. Nematode. Chloroplasts. Grain of pollen. That doesn't look organic. That's crystalline in its shape. That's water in the form of hoarfrost. This is, the internet promises me, that this is individual atoms of gold. I put the gold foil around the edge so I wouldn't forget what it is. Okay? So, a little mental exercise for you right now, real quickly. In your mind, it's impossible to hold two thoughts at once, but try to, in your mind, if you close your eyes, that might help. No, it's not going to help. I promise it's not going to help. Imagine the size of the dragonfly. Hold that dragonfly image in your mind while you are thinking about the pillars of creation and feel the tension that generates. Okay. Everything is normal, and I am big. This is another exercise. People do this all the time. You can see these all over the internet, and go to YouTube, and you have those little things where you move through from the Betelgeuse, however you say the star in Orion, right? Okay, Joseph Smith, Liberty Jail. Let's get Latter-day Saintish for a little bit here. Thy mind, O man, if thou wilt lead a soul into salvation, must stretch as high as the utmost heavens, and search into and contemplate the lowest considerations of the darkest abyss, and expand upon the broad considerations of eternal expanse. We're not exempt from reflecting and having our minds expand on the vast and the small, everything that is, universally. Awe. And this is from the psychological science out of Berkeley, Jonathan Haidt and Dacher Keltner, multiple things that they were able to observe that happens to people when they experience awe. Among them is a sense of a smallness, self-diminishment. It shrinks us down to size. How far? Well, in our religion, we'll talk about it shrinks us down to feeling like we're nothing, right? That's how small we are. Put Jupiter's rings there just so we can have that tension between who we are and what's really big. There are lots of names that I could point to. Moses, in his vision, and he crumples into nothing and says, now I know that man is nothing, which thing I never before had supposed. Job, cut down to size by God himself. Where were you? Who do you think you are? I am big, and everything's normal. Everything I see is normal. These flowers, the chairs you're sitting on, the fluorescent lights, it's all just normal stuff. Never mind that those molecules are dancing around. They're vibrating continually. I have to think about it. The psalmist, I love the Psalm 8 quote, O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. When I consider thy works, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him? King Benjamin, you go to King Benjamin, and what a wonderful sermon that we look at sometimes as though there's prescriptions of things to do that are righteous. So there's a list of things, clothe the naked and feed the hungry. Yes, do that. Take it as a commandment. That's great. But if you look at the grammar in that sermon, and if you look at the lingo in that sermon, first you'll hear him say, believe in God, believe that he is, believe that he created all things. And then look for the verb create, and the noun creation, and the noun creatures, and see how often that shows up in Mosiah 4. And as you go through that, then he says, if you do these things, you're going to what? There's a big if-then clause. He says, if you remember creation, and if you believe in God, and if you hold this in remembrance, and if you remember your nothingness, because you're all so big. But he says, remember your nothingness. If you do that, then you'll feed the hungry. You'll clothe the naked. So they start sounding less like commandments, like sort of the natural organic outcomes of having remembered who you are in the universe. That's fascinating to me. Dieter Uchtdorf, also a wonderful talk from 2016, where he, I think it's called, General Conference, it's called You Matter to Him. He talks about the paradox of our being, remembering our nothingness and also mattering to God. If you get a chance to look that up, I just wanted his name up there. Joseph Smith, I have a quote here from Joseph Smith. We already had one before from Liberty Jail. See my motor mouth going? I love this stuff. Okay, in recent years, there has been a lot of attention paid to Joseph Smith's account of the first vision given in 1832. And as you listen to this in the last 10 years, even more, and now we're hearing it more at General Conference, one of the themes that emerges in that 1832 summer account is that he's penitent, he needs a redeemer, he has sinned, he wants forgiveness. That's become our focus. And in doing that, we bypass, that's important, but we bypass what Joseph Smith was thinking about immediately prior to the first vision. And here he says, I looked upon the sun, the glorious luminary of the earth, and also the moon rolling in their majesty through the heavens, and also the stars shining in their courses, and the earth upon which I stood, and the beasts of the field, and the fowls of heaven, and the fish of the waters, and also man walking forth upon the face of the earth in majesty and in the strength of beauty, whose power and intelligence in governing the things which are so exceeding great and marvelous, even in, there's the marvel, the awe, the wonder, marvelous, even in the likeness of him who created them. And when I considered upon these things, my heart exclaimed, all these bear testimony and bespeak an omnipotent and omnipresent power, a being who maketh laws and decreeth and bindeth all things in their bounds, who filleth eternity, who was and is and will be from all eternity to eternity. So just prior to the first vision, he's contemplating what Moses was contemplating on his mountain. Believe in God, believe that he created all things, creatures. So here's just a little visual for you. I forgot I had it. That's the actual Joseph Smith 1832 image of that. Going back to Job, I found this wonderful essay, Suffering Does Not Rob You of Joy, Idolatry Does. And this essayist was very convincingly, I just stumbled across this, she's not Latter-day Saint, Anna Nash, you ought to look it up sometime. She's basically telling us that the book of Job, which we look at, we think that's about our suffering, and that's about what is sometimes called theodicy, about why do we suffer and why would God make us suffer. You can read the book of Job as a parable on idolatry. And that comes back to Job being cut down to size. You know? So I am big, everything is normal. I see those, I made this up 2 days ago, two bookends of idolatry. Is I am big. If one of the main purposes of our life is to lose ourselves so we can find ourselves, then we're talking about self-transcendence. We're not talking about our tendency to think of ourselves as the center of the universe. And that's very hard. I've had conversations with people who are Latter-day Saints. I say, you know, we're supposed to remember our nothingness, and people bristle. But what if that's a gateway to true sacred awe? What if it's paramount? What if it's indispensable? So a couple of things. I just want to say that we shouldn't be normal. Oh, I have to shut up. I promise to keep it real brief. What if there is no ontological necessity for things to exist? We talk about childlike wonder. A child is not going to know the word ontological. We don't make them into philosophers. But a child's perfectly capable of saying, why is there something instead of nothing? That's where ontological awe comes in. It's where we're in wonder and awe to even think that we are, that anything is. That's a good question. The cosmos has no reasons in it that explain or argue for our existence. It's worth thinking about. We're always going to normalize like that doctor, who I'm pleased was able to help with the safe delivery of my children, right? And that's how we get through life. In order to be, you can't be gobsmacked by beautiful things all the time, or you might crash your car at some point, right? You have to normalize. But in the process, boy, do we have to be careful. We have to be so careful, because every single time we normalize, we risk taking the gifts that are given to us by God and regarding them as though they were givens. And they are not. They are not givens, they are gifts. Thinking of gifts as givens is the opposite of confessing the hand of God in all things. So I'm going to just say a final word now. I know this has been fast, and you've been very good to listen to me. I've come to the conclusion in just the last little while that the first covenant that we make, if we're going to be religious people, if we're going to serve God, the very first covenant of faith we make is to practice the virtue of awe. We tend to think of covenants as being when you get your baptism, you go through, you've got sacrifice and obedience and consecration, and you get sealed to a spouse and you make holy promises. I'm not undermining that. I'm actually saying that those things can't happen until first you choose to live astonished at creation. Now, how can I even dare say that? In contraries, truth is made manifest. So you flip it, and you say to yourself, okay, let's presume what Marcus just said is false. That's not true. You flip it around. Can you imagine having bona fide covenants with your Creator, absent astonishment at what has been created by your Maker? How honest is that? And one more scriptural thing that has kind of helped me in this idea that not only is awe a virtue, not just an emotion, it's not something that happens to us, it's something we practice. I'll go to Psalm 104, and if you look in there's a long list of creation. It goes the heavens, the stars, the moon, the ocean, the fishes in the sea, the fowl of the air. We already heard that in Psalm 8. All of creation, and by the end, you hear the verses, I will sing unto the Lord as long as I live. I will praise my God while I have my breath, or my being, while I have my being. You could look at that as just a literary flourish, just nice poetry, or you can look at that, if you choose to, as covenant making. I will sing unto the Lord. And what I have found in Constant Wonder is great resonance with the audiences that we try to reach. When people are touched by it, whether they are Latter-day Saints or not, they're ready to sing. And I think that the people you want to engage are ready to sing. And what we might need to do is tell them the story of creation and show them how we worship and how we sing. And I leave that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much, Marcus. So hopefully everyone's drink cups are emptied, but all of our spiritual cups are already overflowing, and the night has only begun. And I need to ask you a piece of advice, Marcus, because you being a podcaster, which you should all go to his table afterwards if you want to talk more with Marcus. He will be out there in the hall. Is we ourselves are also trying to think about this space. The next evolution of In the Company of Stewards, which is going to be sunset this year, is going to be a podcast ourselves. We are really excited about it. It's going to be called Holy Earth. Lydia Theobald is going to be one of our hosts. Weirdly enough, I'll happen to be the other one. But we are very excited about this venture. And it's now live. You can listen to our first episode, which is with another person in this room, George Hanley, back there. It was an amazing conversation, and I hope you can go and tune into it. Marcus, what, if you had one word or sentence that you could tell us of how to make this a good podcast, what would it be?
Be wary of all abstractions and keep it concrete in what you say and in what your guests say. And invite them to be concrete, where they're talking about their hands-on real experiences with creation. People love to opine, I'm one of them. And when you go down that road of saying, I have a great idea, you have removed yourself from what speaks to people in stories. And as we try to do stories on Constant Wonder, I do everything I can before people say, and here's my summary sentence of the grand philosophy I have. I want them to take me down to a river and look at stoneflies and tell me what happened to them. And we live that concrete. So that's it. Be concrete, and that would serve us well too as Latter-day Saints and all of our testimony bearing as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to go back now, George. I think it was very concrete, George. It was an immensely immersive conversation. Did we note that down, Lydia? Put the notes there. That's great. Thank you. We're really excited about this venture, and we may just be tapping a couple of folks in this room to try and become our guests. So if you know of people, please send them our way. Last thing that we want to talk about. So we're launching a podcast. We told you our 2030 vision. We have a lot of ambitions, and this organization currently runs on a working volunteer board and one paid part-time staff member. And if we are going to become the global operation that we are already becoming, we need help to do that. There are many ways you can help. Some of that is in volunteering. We are actively looking for board members right now. If you yourself feel so inclined, if you know people who would feel inclined, please send names our way. There will be open calls that are put out for that. If you want to be involved with the organization, of course, come visit the table, continue doing what you're doing in these events. And if you want to give financially to the organization, there's 2 ways up here that you can do it, and it is always there. We very much appreciate it. You already have from coming to this dinner tonight, and we are so grateful to you for that. And we can promise you that in return, you will see impact. And if we don't make that promise, then don't give us money. Thank you all for being here tonight. I also just want to give you, and I'll put that back up in case people want it afterwards as you're walking out. We've got some upcoming events. The most imminent one is next week, International Coastal Cleanup Day. We have some happening here at Utah Lake. There will be one in the Virgin River. So if you want to clean up a different kind of coast, it's right here. And all of our chapters around the world will be engaged in some way. And we're doing this in conjunction with Chloe's not here, the International Oceans, Tidy Ocean, with Tidy Ocean. That's right. Thank you. And there's a slew of other events that are here in Utah that you can come and join. And we're really excited about all of them. Another one that we want to point out, since we are here in Utah Valley, and there's a university just down the way called Brigham Young University. There is a 20-year anniversary of Stewardship and the Creation, a compendium of essays that was released 20 years ago and was led by George Hanley and has involvement from many people in this room. So we really highly encourage you to be there and be a part of it if you can. We're going to continue platforming it for ourselves. That's all the things that we have for you. Thank you for coming to this dinner. We hope you enjoyed it, and thank you again to Marcus Smith for being here. It's now time to go get ready for the Fall Forum. It is just going to be down the hallway in the auditorium, and you as dinner guests here have reserved seating for that. We had somebody that was going to walk people down to that. Do we remember who that was, board members? We will have a fearless leader in Teresa Gomez. So thank you all again for being here, and we really appreciate your support of LDSES. Oh my goodness, yes. On your way over, please check out the amazing art exhibit that we have. We have had, I think, around 24 artists that have been contributing work for this year's exhibition, and it's something that we're going to continue to do on a yearly basis in conjunction with the Fall Forum. And this year, they will have this exhibition on for a few months at the Orem Library, and you can purchase the artwork out there. So if you are interested in art dealing yourself, you can buy those pieces, and proceeds go to both the library and to LDSES, as well as the artists. There will be some artists out there selling prints themselves if you can buy directly from them. So please check those out on your way over to the Fall Forum. And you will find us ushers in the theater to get you to your reserved seating for the Fall Forum. Yeah, oh, they've got labels. Okay, there's labels there. We can all navigate and read signs, right? Okay, great. Thank you all again for being here, and we will see you in a few minutes.